the image the world sees is one of sunshine, palm trees, and calculated defiance. In April 2026, we saw Prince Harry and Meghan Markle landing in Melbourne, Australia, reportedly flying commercial and blending in with regular passengers in a move designed to project relatability. But as the cameras flashed and the couple displayed their carefully practiced smiles, a much darker story was reportedly unfolding behind the scenes. Insiders describe a man in total meltdown mode, a prince reduced to pacing the halls of his $18 million mansion, obsessively tracking every headline and every social media thread. The soldier prince, according to critics, appears to be unraveling. And the reason is not simply another bad news cycle. It is what commentators are calling a constitutional ticking time bomb that may finally be reaching 0 hour. The public has already seen years of headlines surrounding family feuds, media wars, and Netflix dramas. But supporters of this theory argue that the current controversy is different. This is no longer about bruised feelings or arguments over bridesmaids' dresses. Critics claim it has become a debate about bloodlines, legitimacy, and the very foundation of the British monarchy itself. For years, whispers surrounded the inconsistencies tied to the births of Archie and Lilibet. Now, according to royal commentators, those whispers have turned into a roar. With the release of Tom Bower's latest book, Betrayal, alongside a series of direct claims from high-level royal insiders, the Sussexes are reportedly facing a crisis they can no longer spin away. And what happened next shocked even some of their most loyal supporters. To understand why Prince Harry is reportedly in such a state of panic, observers point to the timing. Just as the couple were attempting to relaunch their public image through their unofficial 2026 Australia tour, a trip that reportedly generated millions in audience engagement and brand opportunities, the narrative suddenly shifted beneath them. While the Sussexes were reportedly staging what palace insiders described as royal tour choreography for commercial benefit, Tom Bower released allegations painting a far more troubling picture of their internal reality. According to critics, the book does not merely recycle old gossip. It claims the palace has quietly investigated questions surrounding the legitimacy of the Sussex children for years. The book further alleges that Queen Camilla once privately remarked that Meghan Markle had brainwashed Prince Harry, and that tensions between Prince Harry and Prince William had reached a point of no return. But perhaps the most explosive claim involves Prince Harry's growing fear that King Charles III and Prince William could eventually move towards stripping or limiting his children's royal titles. Yet, that was only the beginning. The true firestorm erupted when Lady Colin Campbell made a dramatic live television appearance that stunned viewers. Unlike many commentators, she did not rely on vague suggestions or anonymous sources. Instead, she looked directly into the camera and declared with total confidence that Archie and Lilibet were biologically Prince Harry's children, but allegedly not born of Meghan Markle. The silence in the studio afterward was reportedly overwhelming. This was not framed as speculation or rumor. It was presented as a direct challenge to the constitutional and legal standing of two children currently positioned within the royal line of succession. According to reports, Prince Harry's response was immediate and highly defensive, with legal threats allegedly emerging before the interview had even concluded. But critics argued that the speed and intensity of the reaction appeared less like confidence and more like panic. Because, as many royal commentators point out, the timeline surrounding the births has always raised questions. Critics frequently return to the birth of Archie, noting that the palace announcement stated Meghan Markle was in labor nearly 7 hours after the baby had reportedly already been born. In an institution where every royal movement is usually choreographed down to the minute, observers argue that such a delay was extraordinary. Then there are Prince Harry's own words in his memoir Spare. He wrote that he and Meghan Markle returned to Frogmore Cottage within roughly 2 hours of their son's birth. Critics argue that for a first-time birth in a hospital setting, the timeline sounds medically implausible. Supporters of the conspiracy theories claim these inconsistencies suggest the public may not have been told the complete story. The speculation intensified further during Lilibet's birth controversy. So-called moon bump. Investigators across social media spent years dissecting photographs and videos, claiming Meghan Markle's pregnancy bump appeared to shift shape, change size, and even deflate in ways they believed did not align with normal biology. In June 2025, Meghan Markle attempted to silence the rumors by posting a video to Instagram for Lilibet's 4th birthday. The clip showed her in a hospital room, heavily pregnant, dancing and twerking in an attempt to induce labor while Prince Harry moved around in the background. But instead of shutting down the criticism, the video triggered an even larger backlash. Critics described the footage as awkward and inappropriate, while others focused on what they claimed were physically impossible movements for someone allegedly 9 months pregnant and overdue. Rather than ending the controversy, detractors argued the video only intensified skepticism and fueled growing demands online for the Sussexes to lose their titles, with critics accusing the couple of simultaneously demanding privacy while publicly monetizing intimate family moments. Critics argue that what began as a carefully staged public relations campaign has now evolved into something far more serious. The public fascination with how these children were born is not driven by curiosity alone. According to royal commentators, it centers on a very specific and deeply rooted constitutional issue within British law. The 1701 Act of Settlement and later succession laws established the historical principle that a royal heir must be born of the body to remain in the line of succession. Supporters of the conspiracy theories argue that this is not merely ceremonial tradition, but a constitutional requirement tied directly to royal legitimacy. Critics claim that if surrogacy had ever been involved, even if the children were biologically those of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, it could theoretically create questions regarding their places in the line of succession. This is the constitutional nightmare that commentators believe now hangs over the Sussexes. According to supporters of Tom Bower and Lady Colin Campbell, if the allegations were ever proven or supported by concrete evidence, Archie and Lilibet could potentially face removal from the royal line altogether. Critics argue the humiliation for Prince Harry would be devastating, both publicly and personally. Reports from Montecito describe Prince Harry as increasingly isolated and emotionally strained. Insiders claim he has become deeply suspicious, reacting anxiously to media coverage, phone calls, and online speculation. Critics have pointed out the irony that the prince who once spoke globally about mental health and emotional healing now appears, in their view, unable to manage the psychological pressure surrounding his own situation. According to sources quoted by royal commentators, Prince Harry's greatest fear is not only damage to his reputation, but the possibility that even more damaging information could eventually emerge. Critics argue that if he appears this alarmed by potential disclosures, it naturally fuels speculation about what exactly he may be trying to conceal. Meanwhile, commentators describe Meghan Markle's strategy as dramatically different. While Prince Harry is portrayed by critics as emotionally unraveling, Meghan Markle is depicted as operating in full damage control mode with the precision of a seasoned Hollywood strategist. Rather than retreating, critics say she has responded aggressively through legal warnings and threats against anyone repeating surrogacy allegations. However, legal analysts argue that this approach carries enormous risks. In both the United States and the United Kingdom, defamation lawsuits can trigger discovery, the legal process in which the defense gains the right to request relevant evidence. Critics point out that if Meghan Markle were to sue media organizations over these claims, opposing lawyers could potentially seek medical records, hospital documentation, and testimony from medical professionals involved in the births. According to royal commentators, that possibility represents the ultimate legal trap. Any attempt to silence the allegations through litigation could instead force deeply private details into the public domain. But the pressure is no longer coming solely from journalists, authors, and legal analysts. Increasingly, it is also emerging from within Meghan Markle's own family. Thomas Markle, her estranged father, has reportedly voiced doubts publicly and questioned whether proof exists that his daughter physically carried the children herself. Critics say this adds another painful layer of family conflict to an already toxic public controversy. Samantha Markle has gone even further, suggesting publicly that if surrogacy had been used, the couple should simply have acknowledged it from the beginning. She has also hinted at broader questions involving the children's origins, comments that intensified online speculation even further. Critics argue that if even a small portion of those rumors were ever substantiated, Prince Harry would not merely be confronting a constitutional issue. He would be facing the collapse of the carefully crafted fairy tale narrative the Sussexes have spent years building around themselves. The palace, meanwhile, has maintained what many observers view as a highly strategic silence. Commentators frequently note that when false rumors circulate about Prince William or Catherine, Princess of Wales, official clarifications often arrive quickly. But regarding speculation surrounding the Sussex births, critics point to an almost total absence of direct public responses. To skeptics, that silence feels deliberate. Some believe senior royals are quietly distancing themselves from the controversy so that if damaging revelations ever emerge, King Charles III could plausibly claim he was never fully informed. Critics interpret this as an institutional survival strategy designed to shield the monarchy itself from potential fallout. According to insiders, the emotional isolation surrounding this situation has been especially difficult for Prince Harry. Critics argue he has already lost much of his connection to his family, his country, and his former royal role. Now, they say, the legitimacy of his own children is being debated publicly on a global scale. The Sussex brand, once promoted as the modern future of the monarchy, is now facing what commentators describe as its most dangerous crisis yet. Critics insist this is not a controversy that can simply disappear through improved PR campaigns, emotional interviews, or another Netflix documentary. In their view, these are questions involving law, succession, and royal legitimacy, issues that do not fade easily. Calls for DNA testing and greater transparency continue to grow louder online, and critics argue that Prince Harry's refusal to engage directly with those demands only intensifies public suspicion. According to commentators, he now appears trapped between two impossible choices: transparency that could potentially damage the family's standing, or continued silence that allows suspicion to grow indefinitely. The story took another dramatic turn during Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's 2026 visit to Melbourne, Australia. Publicly, the couple appeared determined to project relevance, relatability, and continued royal importance. During an appearance at the Inner Edge Summit, Prince Harry delivered what many described as a surprisingly vulnerable speech. He admitted that he often feels like he does not have his life together, speaking candidly about the pressures of growing up in constant public scrutiny and the trauma of losing his mother, Princess Diana. To supporters, it was a brave and deeply human moment. But to critics watching the growing legal storm back home, it appeared to be something else entirely: a man nearing an emotional breaking point while the pressure surrounding the Sussex narrative continued to intensify. Reports suggest that behind the scenes of the Australia tour, a venture allegedly designed to generate more than $10 million for the couple, Prince Harry was under immense pressure. The contrast, according to critics, was striking. On stage, he presented himself as an advocate for mental health and emotional openness. But privately, insiders claim he was obsessively monitoring legal filings and the growing controversy surrounding the born of the body allegations. That brings the story back to the June 2025 video that sparked a massive online firestorm. To celebrate Lilibet's 4th birthday, Meghan Markle shared what she described as a candid moment from the delivery room 4 years earlier. The clip showed her dancing and twerking to the baby mama dance, while Prince Harry awkwardly shuffled in the background. She captioned the video with a joke about being a week overdue and needing to shake the baby out. But for many royal commentators, the timing of the release felt strategic rather than spontaneous. Critics questioned why such an intensely private and, in their view, highly unroyal moment would suddenly be shared publicly years later. According to skeptics, the video appeared to be a deliberate attempt to humanize the pregnancy and visually shut down surrogacy rumors once and for all. Instead, they argue it had the opposite effect. Rather than silencing critics, the footage generated even more questions about the authenticity of the scene. Online observers pointed to the professional-looking lighting, Meghan Markle's perfectly styled appearance, and what they claimed was unusual movement of the pregnancy bump. Critics accused the couple of producing a carefully staged social media performance rather than sharing a genuine family memory. Yet commentators argue the most serious threat to the Sussex narrative is not an Instagram video, it is the legal system itself. For years, Meghan Markle has been known for using legal action aggressively against media outlets and critics. But according to analysts, that strategy may now be creating unintended consequences. As new lawsuits move through the courts in 2026, the possibility of discovery becomes increasingly significant. Discovery is the legal phase in which both sides may demand access to relevant evidence and records. Critics argue that if a judge determined the details surrounding the births were relevant to matters of public interest or constitutional significance, it could potentially open the door to requests for medical documentation. Royal commentators speculate that this could include hospital logs from Portland Hospital, doctor signatures, timelines, and other records tied to the births, the very materials critics claim Prince Harry is desperate to keep private. Supporters of Tom Bower's theories argue that if any inconsistencies were uncovered in those records, the public narrative surrounding the Sussexes could unravel rapidly. In his book Betrayal, Tom Bower reportedly outlines a scenario in which the palace is not merely remaining silent, but quietly preparing for the worst-case constitutional outcome. According to those claims, King Charles III has allegedly already been briefed on the potential fallout if evidence ever emerged supporting the surrogacy allegations. Critics argue the implications would be enormous. If it were legally established that the children did not meet the traditional born-of-the-body requirement, they could theoretically lose their titles, their places in the line of succession, and their royal standing altogether. For Prince Harry, commentators argue, such a revelation would represent a devastating personal and symbolic defeat. After building much of his post-royal identity around protecting his wife and children, critics claim he would instead be remembered as the prince who unintentionally removed his own children from the monarchy he fought so hard against. Meanwhile, Lady Colin Campbell continues to serve as the loudest and most unapologetic critic of the official birth narrative. Her blunt statements on live television have become a rallying point for those demanding greater transparency from the Sussexes. Lady Colin Campbell has repeatedly hinted that she possesses information from a source within royal circles, someone she claims knows exactly what occurred behind closed doors during the births. Despite increasing legal pressure and threats from Montecito, she's shown no signs of backing down. In fact, critics say she appears almost eager for legal action because she believes a lawsuit would force the transparency Prince Harry is allegedly trying to avoid. To observers, it has become a high-stakes game of chicken, and many critics believe Prince Harry now appears to be the one retreating. At the same time, pressure is reportedly mounting on the Sussexes financially as well as legally. Reports claim the value of their Montecito mansion has dropped significantly, while maintaining their high-profile lifestyle continues to cost millions annually. With public attention shifting and major partnerships such as their Netflix deal reportedly losing momentum, commentators argue the Sussex brand is beginning to weaken. Critics say the couple are now racing against time, attempting to preserve both their legitimacy and their commercial value before legal and financial pressures close in around them. According to skeptics, there is one simple way to silence the speculation completely: definitive proof. Critics argue that a DNA test and clear medical verification could potentially end years of conspiracy theories overnight. In their view, a single verified laboratory report could settle the debate once and for all. Critics argue that if Prince Harry and Meghan Markle provided definitive proof of the children's biological parentage and clarified the circumstances surrounding their births, the conspiracy theories would collapse overnight. Supporters of the Sussexes believe such evidence would expose the critics, strengthen any legal battles, and secure the children's future once and for all. However, skeptics point to the couple's continued reliance on lawyers and legal threats rather than direct transparency. According to critics, the millions reportedly spent attempting to suppress questions only deepen public suspicion and fuel speculation about what further scrutiny might reveal. As attention shifts toward the remainder of 2026, commentators increasingly argue that the controversy surrounding the Sussexes cannot remain hidden forever. Whether through courtroom discovery, leaked information, or a future public statement, many believe the pressure surrounding the issue is steadily building toward a breaking point. According to royal commentators, Prince Harry now appears isolated, emotionally strained, and increasingly overwhelmed by forces far larger than media headlines. Meanwhile, the palace has maintained near total silence, seemingly waiting to see how events unfold before taking any decisive public position. To many observers, this is no longer simply a celebrity scandal. It has become one of the most high-stakes royal dramas of the modern era, unfolding in real time before a global audience. Critics continue asking the same central question: is Prince Harry simply a protective father fighting for his family's privacy, or is he trapped inside a narrative that has spiraled beyond his control? This is also why the 2026 Australia tour has become so controversial. What was intended to project relatability and public connection is now viewed by some critics as a desperate financial strategy. When Prince Harry and Meghan Markle boarded that commercial Qantas flight to Melbourne, the optics were carefully managed to present them as humble and approachable. Yet reports simultaneously circulated claiming the trip generated more than $10 million through audience engagement, brand partnerships, and private appearances. Critics quickly highlighted the contradiction. They argued that while the Sussexes publicly portrayed themselves as financially pressured and eager for privacy, they also appeared to be monetizing their royal status in ways more associated with celebrity culture than traditional royalty. According to insiders, this commercialization of the royal brand has reportedly deeply alarmed Prince William. Royal commentators claim he views it as the final rupture in the already fractured relationship between the brothers, a point of no return that may permanently prevent reconciliation within the royal family. But commentators insist the most dangerous issue facing the Sussexes is not Australia, public relations, or media criticism. It is the legal paperwork quietly building behind the scenes. As Meghan Markle's legal team continues issuing warnings and pursuing legal action against those repeating surrogacy allegations, critics argue they may unintentionally be creating the exact scenario they most fear. In a courtroom, discovery could potentially force the release of records and evidence connected to the pregnancies. Royal commentators speculate that opposing lawyers could request hospital records from Portland Hospital, documentation connected to the birth announcements, and even alleged confidentiality agreements critics claim may have been signed by medical staff. Whether such claims are true or not, the possibility alone has intensified public fascination with the controversy. Critics argue that if Prince Harry truly appears as panicked as some reports suggest, it may be because legal proceedings operate differently from interviews, documentaries, or public statements. In court, emotional narratives are secondary to evidence and documentation. But beyond the constitutional and legal questions lies a more human issue: the future of Archie and Lilibet themselves. Critics argue that the continuing debate has created an unfair cloud of suspicion around two children who did not choose public life or royal controversy. Supporters of transparency claim that calls for DNA testing are not only about gossip or conspiracy theories, but about ending years of speculation and ensuring the children are not permanently defined by questions surrounding succession and legitimacy. According to critics, if Prince Harry continues choosing privacy and silence over direct clarification, he may unintentionally allow the controversy to overshadow his children's futures indefinitely. In their view, the world is waiting for a father, a prince, and a public figure to step forward and finally close the debate. As the pressure intensifies throughout 2026, many observers believe time may be running out for the Sussexes to regain control of the narrative. What happens next, critics argue, could influence not only the future of the Sussex family, but also public trust in the monarchy itself for decades to come. Will the controversy ultimately explode in a courtroom battle? Or will Prince Harry and Meghan Markle eventually provide the evidence necessary to silence the speculation permanently? For now, royal commentators say the clock continues ticking, and in matters involving succession, tradition, and the crown, silence itself often becomes part of the story. As debates surrounding the House of Windsor continue growing, audiences around the world remain divided. Some believe the monarchy should step in directly and demand complete transparency, while others argue the Sussexes should be allowed to live privately in California without constant public scrutiny. At the center of the debate remains one final question. Is the historic, born of the body, rule an outdated relic of monarchy, or is it a constitutional safeguard still viewed as essential to preserving the legitimacy of the crown?